Ladies and gentlemen, we're live, and it feels good.
Doesn't it?
It really
This
does.
feels really good. It feels natural.
Well, it's because I'm with you.
We're missing something though.
What are we missing?
We're missing hot ones.
We are. We're missing hot sauce. And this is actually the first time I've ever done. I think the first time I've done a podcast live or like done something like this live.
We did the one last year at Curtis's office. That was live.
Oh, we did. That
I
was
like
good.
this though.
Yeah, I like
it's
this.
Good. I can get used to this.
I can too. All right, hit us in the chat, guys. I'm gonna chat. This is something special. Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm really excited today, guys. I'm at Kevin's office in the studio right now. Hopefully you guys have been, you've had a great hopefully you guys had a great week. Kevin agreed to do this with us. So excited. He's been such a contributor. He had an awesome mastermind yesterday, dude.
Yesterday was fire.
That was fucking, not only was it cool, but there was like a 100-foot screen. How many feet was that?
It was the biggest screen I've ever seen in my life.
It was
that
so
much
dope.
I know.
It was so cool.
And it looked even bigger because it was in just like a regular size. I mean, it's a big room, like with tall ceilings, but it's still like a building versus like, being in a stadium.
Yeah.
Like that's a stadium sized screen inside of a regular sized building.
It was a Jumbotron.
Yeah, it was.
It was badass. So how often do you guys do those masterminds? I know I've been a part of a bunch of them, but what's the exact schedule on those?
So, I mean, there hasn't really been an exact schedule, but it's about 4 times a year.
Yeah. Once a quarter.
Yeah. About once a quarter.
Those are awesome. It's like, I don't know how many were there before, but usually you keep about 50 people in those masterminds.
We let more people in yesterday and there was probably right about 50. We've traditionally kept it to like 30, 35, just to keep the conversation like tighter. And we just had a lot of requests and a lot of extra people to get in this time. And since we were in Michael's building, which allows for a little more room, we decided to expand it out a little bit.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about those masterminds?
I think my favorite part about doing that is just like literally the bringing together of smart people, people that actually want to like give and learn and contribute to each other. Like just that energy from being around people like that in person, like that's my jam.
Yeah. I like the condensedness of it. One of the things that I truly love is it gets me thinking about things I don't think about.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, cause I don't want to say I get dogmatic, but you get in your routine of life and the way you do things and the way you see things and whatnot. And then people around you kind of conform to that. And so they kind of conform to who you are and what you do. And so it's really nice to get yourself out of your, let's say, natural habitat and into something else like that, where it's hyper condensed of highly productive human beings that are actually doing it on a day-to-day basis to get you thinking about things you don't think about.
Yeah. And so then that's part of like I'm very intentional and purposeful about inviting people that are different because of that whole thing of like, we all tend to hang out with this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's human nature. We tend to hang out with people that are sort of thinking more like we are. And so like, I'll go out of my way to make sure like, Keith Riddle was there yesterday. A lot of people don't know Keith, but I know him from like my early days in real estate where he owns a brokerage, 150 people in Spokane, Washington. Right. And then there's some really high producing $20 million solo agents in the room from Phoenix and from other places as well. So like we got people from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and from all over the states with different business models, all really smart and doing something big in their own right, just sort of coming together very purposely because I want to get different viewpoints and angles thrown at things.
Yeah. I mean, Keith was awesome because he's got the brokerage and then he's bringing teams on and he's got about like 75 rental properties that he did in like a year or something like that.
He's crushed. Like, I think he did like 150 flips in the last 3 years as well. Like, yeah, so you get someone in there like as different as Keith. And then like, I'm thinking like my friend Sarah or Desiree that was in there, who's basically running a solo agent business, doing $15-20 million a year in real estate, absolutely crushing it, having a great life and a great business. And there's not one's not right and one's not wrong. They're literally just different with different viewpoints. And to be able to get people that are like so different to talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
I think is powerful for the people in the room to listen to that.
It is. It is. I'll be honest. Yesterday, I've been a part of your masterminds. I think I've been to maybe 5 of them. Yesterday was, I took the most notes yesterday out of all.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your favorite part?
Obviously the collaboration I love, but that's like just such an easy answer. My favorite part was, Ronnie brought fire yesterday. Ronnie Doss.
He did.
He really did. And then honestly, Gubernick.
Yeah.
I like Brian Gubernick's way of, it's cool that him and Ben Kenny are together, because I think they really approach things similar. They're very practical. They get to the root of it. They want to know the rawness of it. There's no frills.
Yeah.
Like, and I'd love to actually go over kind of what Brian brought. If that's cool with you.
It was fire. Yeah. I was excited for that. I knew the topic he told me that he wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard it. So I was same thing, dude. I was scribbling notes the whole time he was talking.
And I love that what he did. So Kevin and Fred had Brian Gubernick come in, who is part of Metrics Coaching alongside Ben Kenny. And what he did is he went around and he interviewed the top teams in the country. And what was really cool is not only did he interview the top teams in the country, but he had some sort of filters of who he was going to interview.
Yeah, he had a criteria that, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was something like he only actually interviewed 29 team owners, because his criteria was very like, you had to have some sort of like long run. So you couldn't be a one-hit wonder, right? So it was like, you had to have 5 years of sustained business over a certain level. You'd have to be like over a certain amount of, not just GCI, but profit. Like GCI is actually the last thing that he talked about or mattered. And like, so he had these things of criteria where you couldn't just be like a flash in the pan. You had to have sustained success, and not just stage talk success, like bank account success.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was five years of sustained growth with profitability increasing over 5 years, every year over year. And then the other thing that I love, this was really good. You had to be happy, and the people around you or the people within your community had to like you.
Yeah. He's kind of like no assholes.
I fucking love that. Cause there's so many people out there that we know that if you're narcissistic, the chances of you being successful are probably pretty high financially. Like if you're full of yourself and you just believe you're God, like you may win in the money realm, you're going to lose in the life realm though.
Yep. 100%.
And so he wanted the well-rounded agents, and out of all of them and out of as many people as him and Ben know, 29.
Pretty crazy when you think about it.
It's pretty crazy. And so what he did was he came up with 8 things that these teams had in common. And what else I liked is a single agent couldn't have these 8 things. And I guarantee you when he went through it and he was like I read through like some of the single agents that I know, independent agents. I'm like, oh, they have all these.
Yeah.
They have all these.
It's because that's a list. That's attributes of high performers.
It really is. It really is. So let's go through them.
Let's do it.
I want to go through the 8. And these are the 8 common actions, not thoughts, not ideas, not theories, the common actions of top teams in the nation. So the number one, predictable environment.
Yeah. Everybody knew, hey, everybody knew this is what I do. Like I come to work, we know what's going on. We know what happens here. There's really no surprises going on. Like this is it. We're here to work.
The vision doesn't change every other day.
Yep.
The expectations are crystal clear. The standards are crystal clear.
Pulling up my notes real quick too.
Yeah. He said there's one thing that I loved, and I loved how he uses great words. But he said there's standards and expectations for roles. They're clear. The training schedule is clear. They know when trainings are, they know exactly when, meetings, events, everything. Yeah.
I think the theme was like, there's a cadence to the day. There's a cadence to the day. There's a cadence to the week, and everybody knows it. It wasn't like nothing was haphazard. Like you didn't come in. I think the example he used was no one came in. It's like, oh, well, okay, let's see. It's Monday. I'm going to make some calls today. So I make some calls, and then like the next day they weren't coming in. Like, well, I don't know. I made calls yesterday. I think I'm probably going to send some handwritten notes today. Like nobody was making shit up as they go. Like they were very on purpose. They knew what to do every day when they go to work. I'd put it that way.
Yeah. Yep. I really like that. A predictable environment. Because here's the thing. One thing that I tell myself is like, and we talked about this yesterday at the mastermind, is when you're looking to grow, and looking to push yourself, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I like to do in my environment is create as much when I'm in heavy growth mode, which is try to be as much as I can, is making sure all of the things I can control, there is certainty in those things.
Yeah.
Like you can control your calendar.
Yep.
You can control the time you wake up. You can control your routine. You can control your schedule. There's a lot of things you can control that you can have certainty in so that you can have your uncertainty have an ROI on it through growth.
Yep.
Yeah. Number two
was simply the keep score. Like no one's afraid of keeping score. In fact, every one of them without exception kept score. So that's everything from like for some people that was like, they're counting the number of calls or the number of dials every day to the number of appointments, the number of signed listing agreements or buyer contracts or, homes under contract and closings, et cetera. The point is they keep score. And nobody was ever unsure of whether or not they were winning or losing because they kept score.
Yeah. It's funny. That's why people don't keep score.
Yeah.
So they don't ever know
you
if
don't have
they're
to face it.
losing.
You don't have to face it.
There's this thing called, FOMO.
Yeah.
There's this thing called FOFO. And it's called fear of finding out.
Ooh, that's even better.
It's why people like avoid maybe looking at taxes or going to the doctor or checking their finances. I don't know about you, but in my 20s, I just swiped that fucking card and I just ignored it till Monday.
You mean you didn't balance your checkbook every day? You didn't write it on carry
no budget? No.
Okay.
It was below Cash City, USA.
FOFO. I like it.
Fear of finding out. And that's why people don't keep score. So, and then this was the other thing, how they visually scored. They all had a scoreboard
of some kind. Yeah.
Some kind. Some people had it on a piece of paper written up on the thing on a dry, what are those?
Like you're talking about, yeah. Or like the colored in like thermometer. Some people use like Sisu or some other system.
Gecko board.
Yeah. But Gecko board. Like the point is though, everybody had a scoreboard that they kept score on.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 3 was team leaders actively plan and manage their time. Yeah. So, and I thought this was, they knew the team leaders knew exactly what they were doing. It goes back to kind of the first thing of a predictable environment. The team leaders' activities were predictable.
This is the one that surprises me the least.
Yeah. I was going to say same.
Because anybody who is going to build a business, it's really easy not to work on a calendar. Mm-hmm. It's just easy.
Yeah.
It's the same as fear of finding out.
Yeah.
Cause you can just deal with stuff. Right. So instead, they were going to honor their calendar. They're going to have a calendar and then they're going to honor it and they were going to stick to it the best that they could. Of course, I think he also pointed out nobody was perfect about sticking 100%, but they were all really good about sticking a high percentage of the time to what they had scheduled in their calendar.
Have you ever met anyone that was high producing or highly productive that didn't have a tight schedule or didn't know exactly what their schedule was or weren't running off a schedule?
There's a very few outliers.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is they're so unaware. Here's what happens. They're high producers or they're highly productive compared to society or compared to the industry norm, but not compared to what they could be. But the problem is because they're so much better than their peers and their natural state, they think that means they're winning. And they are financially, and maybe they're happy, but they're not actually coming close to maximizing who they could be as a person or a business person or as a mom or a dad or fill in the blank.
Dude, how often, where your natural behavior beats most people. So you feel good about it, but you're only operating at 40-50%.
I used to joke Fred got licensed, I don't know, a couple years before I did. And I think he sold 35 houses his first year in real estate by himself, no TC, no leverage, nothing. And I was always like, dude, I got tired at 6. I think I sold 6 houses before him and I started working together, or 8. And I was like, that was so much work. And Fred probably could have done 50. So he could run around doing 50 naturally. But the problem is he could do that without really being that structured.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't come anywhere close to what his potential is. We could have never gotten to, he could never have gotten to the highs that we've gotten to together without having structure. I know that.
Yeah.
Neither could I.
Yeah. It was really weird. About 10 years ago, I got my first coach. Her name was Debbie Frapp. And I thought like this coaching thing was just going to be this magical thing that I'm going to get like instantly better overnight. We get on the very first call and what do we talk about? My fucking calendar. And I'm like, and I paid how much for this?
You're like, what?
And literally today, my calendar it's like, I'm not a slave to it. I look at it as my assistant.
Yeah. I look at it. So I let it tell me what to do.
Yeah. Totally.
But it's because when I have a clear mind, I tell it what I want to do and what I should be doing based on my priorities. And then I just listen to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then scheduling time, and we're going to get into that next, but so that was team leaders actively plan and manage their time. What was 4?
Let me see. That was 3. So number 4 was, man, where'd it go? Here we go. Number 4 was team leaders leverage personal work time. So effectively, like, hey, when they're working, so they've got a week, I'm just going to read what he said. Most all successful team owners have a weekly and in some cases daily chunk of time blocked exclusively to work on their own personal projects related to the team, like their contribution to the team, right? So personal projects included like strategic planning, data review, maybe writing classes to teach to the team, planning for their one-on-one meetings. So like he said, like no one ever shows up to say like a one-on-one surprised to learn what they're going to talk about. Like they had that all planned out ahead of time because they were already reviewing the data, say from their scoreboard. That was the example he gave. He said, and this came up a lot, would tend to block thinking time. So a formal way of saying, hey, like there's time in my calendar. This is something I adopted a few years ago of like, there's no agenda except for to sit and think about problems, opportunities, things, so on and so forth.
Yep. I follow the Mark Willis. I do 50 minutes high intensity, 10 minutes of whether it's walking around the office or 10 minutes of just thinking or 10 minutes of brain dumping or 10 minutes of like, working on that one project that's not essential right now, but I'm starting the deck on it or something. Yeah. Which I thought that was good. I think planning one-on-one. I have this good leaders show up ready to present.
Yeah.
Bad leaders show up and prepare in front of you.
Yeah.
And so number 5, team leaders and key people understand the team financials.
Yeah. I think this kind of goes back to the FOFO.
Yeah.
Like
finding out.
Like, no, we understand that there's financials here. At the end of the day, this is a business. We're not running a charity. Some of us are, and that's okay. But these were top performers again. So they all had a process and they were slightly different, but they had a process. And they had a degree of awareness of the financial health of the company. And it was usually not just the owner or the team leader, but oftentimes like a key person, probably, and or a coach. And the other thing he pointed out too, was they all had an extra set of eyes. So there's not just the bookkeeper or say like the CPA's set of eyes plus the owner, but like someone else. So like maybe a director of operations within the company or a peer or a coach, someone else had another set of eyes on the financials besides just that team leader and or the operator.
Yeah. One thing I love that he said too about knowing the financials was a lot of times we just look at the P&L. How much are we making? How much are we losing? And that's it. He was talking about like getting real strategic,
like the metrics of it.
Yeah. Like strategy of it.
What happens? Well, you heard, we were talking about my buddy Keith yesterday. Like he was talking about the value in being able to get a click on his Google ads for 15 cents less because of what that trickled down to in his overall spend for the month. Right. And so, yeah, they're aware of stuff like that. Like if I move this over here, this other thing is going to go like that. And you don't know that unless you're actually in those numbers.
Like if I cut these 3 things that have little to no ROI, I have another employee.
Yeah.
I can hire another employee. So they got strategic with the financials and just instead of saying, how much did we make? How much did we lose? Which I thought was really good, to almost going from, it's really the difference between like a bookkeeper and a CFO.
Yeah.
He really had, the key team leaders were really looking at their financials like a CFO.
Yeah.
Number 6.
Number 6 was team leaders teach non-stop.
Yeah.
Also not surprising at all to me. Yeah. This is something and he did point out too, like it wasn't just, it was teaching like one-on-ones to the people on the team, like the people that they're leading, teaching to their entire team, but also like putting on classes, doing something like this, putting like the mastermind yesterday. They're nonstop teaching for multiple reasons. Number one, it's a great way to lead your people. So within their organization, that's how they can teach them, and how you can make change is by teaching. Once you've got a certain number of people, like you've got to teach to really impact some change.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that, but also just out to the community of real estate as well, because because I think we'll get to this in a moment. Like there's a certain amount of like, that's leadership just beyond your own four walls. Like, so teaching outside of that. So group, one-on-one, team development, as well as like, I think he referred to it as like recruiting or image.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
Yeah. And not just teaching sales.
Yeah. Not just sales,
but other things, leadership,
yeah.
Mentorship, life skills, personal development. And again, we'll kind of get into, wait, no, that wasn't. So, okay. So this is one thing. The next one, number 7, which kind of flows right into this. Team leaders are as executive athletes.
Yeah. So he noticed that they all take it very seriously. He made the joke because he wrote down the Tom Brady of real estate. He's like, now that he retired this week, I might have to change that. But effectively what he's saying is like, hey, there's an element here of they're focusing on their health and their energy. How many times have I heard you talk about like managing energy? Like,
oh, yeah.
I don't even know. I've lost count, right? Yeah. Like being able to manage the energy, because what you bring energy to, like you could tell, like when something's going wrong, something's not great, whether it's your business or a relationship or another part of your life, it's not hard to guess. There's probably not a lot of, you probably don't have a lot of energy put into it. So
yeah,
talk about managing energy, committing to personal development and growth. And this was the one I think probably hit a lot of people yesterday. They're very purposeful about their circle. They all had stories, and all of them had a story about a time in their life when they weren't purposeful about their circle.
Yeah.
I know you and I have talked about this a lot personally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sometimes the people you love the most are the people that need to be at arm's length. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
You know, another thing too. Yeah. They were they were executive athletes. So they had great energy allocation. This is something that I talk with high performing people who are really like pushing in their life, is like, what are you giving energy to? That it's like, okay, back to the CFO. What are you giving your money to? That's not giving a return.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we giving our energy to?
Same
that's
thing.
Not giving us a return.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were committed to health and energy and personal development. And yeah, love that. 8, this was the last one. Teams have a value proposition and team leaders always have recruiting on their mind. This was funny to me because you hear a lot of these words, value prop, you hear in our industry, you hear a lot of these things that you need to have in order to be a successful, authenticity. You know, I know you've got a few buzzwords, and I think value proposition was a buzzword for me, but this is what I thought was fascinating. He goes, every single person I talked to at some point believed their team was the single best team that anyone could join. And they believed it in their heart. Yeah.
And it's not that they did have the best value proposition. The key here was that they believed it.
They believed it.
And that's what, like, and at the end of the day, if you're going to go out and you're going to recruit, like, you have to believe that. Like, you gotta, you can't be selling something that you don't believe in, right? Totally. You can't be saying, come join me, come over here, come over here. It's cool. It's cool over here. If you don't actually think it's cool over here, I mean, you can, but you won't have again, these are people that have sustained success over a long period of time and grown, and like they had to meet certain criteria. This isn't a flash in the pan, because you can have flash in the pan success like that for a season or two. I think of like 72 Sold. They're falling apart here.
Yeah.
Like they're falling apart. It's like rats jumping off of a ship around here. Like there's none of that. They had it for a little bit of time, but nobody actually really believed it. Like they kind of just all knew, hey, it's the advertising dollars and all the leads coming in, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not ripping on that model by any means. That's a really good and right now timely example. Whereas this was, no, the team owner absolutely believed this is the best environment for any agent to come join.
It, like, in their blood.
Yeah.
It was in their soul. And it's funny because you can't, like you just said, you can't sell anything that you don't believe in. And this goes back to for single agents. Single agents, it's like, who's the product here? Like you're selling yourself. And this is where we run into, if you don't believe in yourself,
you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. How are you going to sell to the person you're sitting in front of? I always said this when I go in front of investors. I go, my goal when I sit in front of an investor to raise money is not to get them to believe me. That's not it. I don't want to get you to believe what I'm saying. I want to get you to believe that what I'm saying, I believe.
Yeah.
Like in my soul. It's why I build all of my own pitch decks myself.
That's a good idea. That's a great way of framing that.
Is because I want to run in them. And if by the end of this pitch deck, I don't believe it with my whole soul, I don't do the project.
Yeah.
And so same thing with these teams. It's like build your team up to where you genuinely in your heart believe your team is the best for anyone who's looking to take their life or business to the next level.
Yeah. And he did say too, they were, in addition to that belief, they were always recruiting at all times.
All times.
And it didn't matter what company they were at. Didn't matter how big they were. They were always recruiting.
Mm-hmm. Always. And that recruiting, it goes back to this. They were always, and this was the theme that I kind of heard around it. And I don't know if it was said yesterday, but it was a feeling I got there. It was like they lived in contribution.
Yeah.
Like they were the leaders. Here's another crazy thing. Out of the 8, the word team leader is in 75% of them. So 6 of the 8, the word team leader is in them. So if you, it's like, it told me, look in the mirror.
Well, yeah, that says like, if you're the leader, you like be the leader.
Yeah,
it literally starts with you. Like we can talk about this whole family, blah, blah, bullshit. And so it feels good. Like we have this, nobody said, what's the thing he pointed out? He was really even more impressed. I'm gonna see if I can get him to come do a podcast with me to talk about some of the other findings, but the stuff that people didn't say. One of the things that people didn't say that he was blown away by, nobody mentioned culture.
Oh,
not one of the 29 mentioned culture. He said they all had it. Nobody mentioned it. I think culture, I believe that's a word for low performers.
I agree with you.
I think it's a word to hide behind. And really what happens is we say we're going to have this culture and so we say, so we're going to do things, right? And the easy way to think about it is like, we're going to have bean bags and we're going to have, the best snacks and the best drinks and whatever in our break room. Like we think of that as culture, and culture is actually, it's something that we get because everyone's aware of what it's like, what the score is. Yeah. Everyone's aware of what their contribution is, and we're moving towards the same thing. And that in itself starts to create culture. It's not the other way around.
Culture is a word. I write this down. Culture is a word used by low performers. Culture is also a word. I don't like the word.
I always hated it because it was like a sword that they used at KW. Yeah. I always hated it. If I knew someone ever brought the C word out against me, it's because they were trying to use it against me or somebody else. Yeah. And so I always disliked it for that reason. But also I think it's just a word to not lead, to not take control. To your point, 75% of these started with the words team leader, which means someone has to lead and set the vision. And then the other things can happen behind it.
Yeah. I was going to say culture. I paused myself and then you said it because you don't give a fuck. I was going to say culture is used. It's something used to control people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's absolutely used to control and gaslight people. That's what it's there for.
Yeah. Because if you have a high productive environment, if you have a highly productive environment, you're going to have fun. Why? Because people are making fucking money.
Exactly.
And people are, and tell me when you have an agent who has like 1 pending or 0 pendings for like 2 months, and then they pen 3 in a week, they don't walk in the office fucking day.
Oh, chest out. Oh, yeah. I'm the man.
Dude, they walk in the office like Connor, it's like, so that creates good productivity, creates great environment.
Absolutely.
And that's what all these teams obviously have.
Yeah. And so like, again, they had culture. Nobody ever pointed to the culture though, as like the driving force for their success.
Yep. Was any tactical shit brought up, like CRMs, text message features? Was splits brought up?
No.
Was any of that shit brought up?
Again, a lot of power in the things that weren't said.
So, dude, and that's what Brian said. He goes, what I was blown away more so by the commonalities in these teams were the things that I hear other people saying that these people didn't say?
So I'm gonna share this quote too. See if I can find it. James Clear, Fred and I were sharing this with each other this week. So he said, if you want to be, and to me, this is a perfect example. If you want to be in the top 1% of a particular domain, then you can't take cues from and follow the social norms of the 99% of people. It's harder than it sounds. We're wired to imitate. The further you want to climb, the more carefully you need to construct your tribe. Or to me, this comes back to the power of proximity. Like, you have to be aware of who you let in your circle. You can't take cues. And that's hard, especially in this day and age of social media and how prevalent things are, where we're getting people's highlights and or in their made up highlights that aren't even really highlights, but it's so they can post, right? Or their Facebook philosophies of the day or whatever. So we're taking cues from these people, and we really shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
Like, you got to know what to like. You got to know who to take something from, and you got to know who to like, oh, that's just Dustin. He's just saying whatever.
Yeah. Your proximity is, and by the way, who was good for you last year may not be good for you this year.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, so those were really good. Those were the 8, just to kind of go over the 8 really quick. Number 1 was a predictable environment. 2, they all kept score. 3, the team leaders actively planned and managed their time. 4, team leaders leverage personal work time. 5, team leaders and key people understand the team financials. 6, team leaders teach nonstop. 7, team leaders are executive athletes. And 8, team leaders have a value proposition, and team leaders always have recruiting on their mind. So those were really good. I'd love it if you got Brian on here. That'd be great.
We're going to.
That would be awesome. So there was some other things that I wanted to chat about too, that I thought were just fire yesterday. I was taking notes, and then I kept taking notes, and I kept taking notes, and then I was just, I was blown away.
It was a lot.
It was good.
It was a lot of info for one day.
Wanted to get your thoughts on these so we can go a little deeper on these things. Something was said where it says, there are those that ask, what's the least I can do and still win? And there are those who ask, what is the most I can do so it would be impossible to lose? I think it was Curtis that said that.
I think it was Curtis.
Yeah. And Curtis Johnson was there. And that was fucking awesome.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
I want to be really clear. I'm not shitting on anybody that wants to do the least they can do and still win. Mm-hmm. I get that. But the power in so actually let me say it this way. You probably heard, or if not, at least I have heard the saying of like, in amateur practices till they get it right, or professional practices until they can't get it wrong.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. To me, that's that.
Yeah.
That's what this is like, so many of us are like, well, what's the least amount of effort I can get away with to make enough money to survive?
Yeah.
Whereas he's saying, winners are going, what do I got to do? How do I got to set how do I set up this game of life and business so that no matter what happens, I win? Mm-hmm. Like, I can't lose. Right. So I think of that in like if I lead generate for a certain number of hours a day, or if I take a certain percentage of my income and I invest it over 10 years, I'm going to be good no matter what. Or like, there's a lot of different ways to set it up. And it's powerful when you look at it from that standpoint of like the least I can do versus just flat out, what's the most I can do to ensure victory?
Yeah, I completely agree. And early on, I caught myself doing this. I think there's better ways to do something, mm-hmm. more effective ways of doing it, that may have it be, where you're actually doing less and you're getting a better reward. I call that strategy. But I think there's this underlying thing, in at least in me, that I had early on, which was a desire for ease.
Yeah.
And I had to release that.
Yeah.
Because if I was going to do big shit, it was going to be hard. And if I was going to grow, it wasn't going to be easy. Easy doesn't pay. And not just financially, but it doesn't pay in fulfillment. It does. Like, is raising kids easy?
No, it's funny. I've been having this conversation with my daughters recently. In fact, one of them repeated it right in front of my wife, and she's like, wow, that's heavy. And because I was like, easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life.
Spot on.
And it's just, so as you and I were talking off camera before we started, like, I've got just a lot of stuff around me. Like, I got old dogs, bro. I got dogs that are going to be 16 in a few months that are like, they're old, like they're geriatric. My mom lives with me. She's in her 70s, has her own share of challenges. And I'm not saying that they had and made easy choices, so now they have a hard life, but they do have a hard life, both, all of them. Like, and it's not just that, but it's great because I have a constant reminder in front of me every day, to go, cool. I didn't want to work out today. I didn't want to get in the, like, I didn't want to do the thing that was going to make my brain work, or that was going to make my body work, or anything like that. But I'm going to, because I just don't want to, in 10 or 20 years or 30 years, like, have to deal with the choices, have to deal with the consequences of easy choices.
Yeah.
And so that's what I heard. Like, that's what I feel when you think about that.
Yeah, that was really good. We have this like denial of death. And I don't mean death of just like you're dead, but we sometimes have this denial that things can't die. Like relationships won't die. Businesses won't die.
I used to have a denial of that. I couldn't understand. Like, what do you mean? And I could never understand how people could be like, okay with the fact that they're going to die one day. I was like, I just never wanted to think about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe it's just because I'm now in my mid 40s, whatever. I just decided at some point last year I was going to embrace it and bring it in. Kind of like you're like, well, I just gave it a seat at the table.
Yeah.
I've literally given it a portion of my wall. And
Totally.
it's so like my death calendar is on my wall.
So cool.
I've just decided, like, I want a reminder. I want an awareness level around it. So that way, when I make a choice today or this week or whatever, then I have to admit, like, it starts with awareness, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be aware of it.
Yeah. It's when we look at things, and Ronnie talked about this yesterday with regards to opportunity. When we look at like just death, just actually dying, some people are fearful of it and they worry about it and they're anxious about it. Other people go, dude, I'm going to die. I better get to living.
Yeah.
Right. Or some people look at like, their business is like slowly going down. They're like, and they go, oh no, it's going to crash, and they don't do anything. What's the least I can do to get it back up? It's the least I can do to, and there's other people that are like, hey, shit's changing. I need to lock in. Dude, there's an opportunity.
I had an email exchange with a friend of mine who's bought and sold a handful of houses with us over the years. And he's got Parkinson's disease, and he's medically retired. He's like, that's a nice word for disabled. Right. And I was like, I get it, dude. And he's like, and so he's telling me about like, but here's my plans. He's like, got all these travel plans. I was like, dude, I love it. Squeeze every fucking bit of juice out of this.
Yeah.
Like whatever you got. And he's fully aware of what his future looks like and the way things are. And he has got a plan of attack to make sure that he lives as much as he can every day for the time that he's got.
Yeah. He's allowing it to be a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
Those feelings of things. And Aliza, my therapist, she says this, that emotions are flashlights. It's like you got death coming. Cool. It's shining a light that we need to do some shit. Your business is going down and you have some worry. Cool. It's shining a flashlight on some actions we need to take.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, so true.
All right. So here was another one. If you don't fight for what you want, you'll be at war with yourself until you do.
Yeah. Dude, I think that comes back down to the hard choice is easy life, easy choice is hard life, right? Because if you don't identify something in your life worth fighting for, a business, a relationship, or a child, a life that you are excited by, like if you don't fight for that stuff, like it will kill you. Mm-hmm. Those things will eat you. They will eat your lunch.
It does eat at you. And Ronnie said something like, if you want peace in your home, you better fight for it.
Yeah.
If you want peace in your heart, you have to fight for it. Like working hard, generating income for your family, having a nest egg, building a career that you're proud of. You got to fight for all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's you got to fight for peace. You got to fight for ease. I remember this time once I was flying to the, cause I can remember a time where I wasn't like this, but I was here in Phoenix, and I was about to fly out to go to a speaking event, and I go into the event, I go to scan my ticket on my phone, and it basically says wrong airport. And I look at my ticket and I'm like, oh, I bought a Vegas ticket and I'm in Phoenix. I remember I did this another time and it stressed me the fuck out. and I didn't have the money to like just go and buy another ticket, and I'm standing in line and and it's a hassle, and I end up missing the flight and have to go the next day. I had to go the next day to another flight. So I ended up staying the night there that night. But this time I was able to just hop on, buy another ticket. Easy, right? Just bought a ticket from Phoenix, flew out to Nashville. No problem. I had to fight for that though. I had to fight for that ease. I had to build that up for years and years and years to be able to just easily do that. And so I know on this call right now, there's people that know what we're talking about with regarding to something that's eating you up inside, or something that you know you need to be fighting for in your life. It may be your potential. It may be for some freedom. It may be financially. It may be in your relationship. It may be that you need to get out of your relationship and go fight for yourself. Whatever it may be. Don't stay at war with yourself.
No.
Put it all out there.
But go fight.
Go fight. Yeah.
Go fight for what you want.
Yep. This is a good one. Opportunities don't go away. They just go to someone else.
Yeah. I love that.
Same.
Cause it's so true. Like you can have an opportunity, just not take action on it. That's okay. It's okay. It didn't go away though. It's not too late. It's not too late. Somebody else just took it. And by the way, when you have that same opportunity again next year and you go, I don't know, and decide to get busy with bullshit, it's also not going to go away. That opportunity will also just go to somebody else.
You see this a lot of times on real estate teams,
constantly,
where you have an agent that's been around for a while. They gotten kind of in the day-to-day, and they kind of, and then a new hungry agent comes on and pens like 8 deals in 3 months, and they're like, where are they getting all these deals
from the leads that they didn't want to work?
Yeah, from the ones you didn't want to call on.
Dude, we got this guy Efren on our team. I love this kid. I posted about
I love that kid too.
That kid has made more phone calls out of our pond of junky old leads than anybody else on the team in the last 2 years by a mile. And while he wasn't the #1 producer on the team last year, and it's really hard to beat our #1. Steph's amazing.
She is a beast. Shout out to Steph.
If Efren's not in the top 3 this year, I will be shocked. He's leading by a mile so far, like a month and a couple days in, because he's got this consistency over time of like, just he took the opportunity that literally everybody, 20 other people were like, whatever. And he just started digging and clawing through the mud. And he's just putting together deals. Yep. Guys just finding deals.
Dude.
He just did, like, he's like, oh, you know what? It's a seller. Like, there's HomeBot. Boom, boom. I bet he took 4 or 5 listings last year from stuff he put on the HomeBot at the end of the year before, because he just started digging through opportunities that other people threw away.
So good. I remember once we bought our very first development that we did. It was a 5-acre development. It was 4 lots, 1-acre parcels. And our team had it listed for like 6 months. Jenna on our team had it listed, and we were going to start this development company. And Jenna goes, well, I got this piece of land or whatever. I've had it listed for 6 months or so. So we bought it. Well, we went to go to the council meeting, and all the neighbors showed up, and they were all mad that we were developing it. And I go, why didn't you buy it? And they go, we didn't have the money. And I go, we didn't either. We didn't either. We found it. We raised it because we were committed. And so that opportunity went to us because we're more committed.
Yeah.
And I always say this, if opportunity isn't showing up in your life, it's probably because your commitment is pretty low.
Yeah. Well, I would say there is opportunity. You're unwilling or unable to see it because of what you're focused on.
Oh, so good. It's yeah. And hopefully we can get to that today, where you don't value it enough.
Yeah.
Your brain only sees what it values. And most people value comfort, and most people value bullshit, and most people value things that don't have 0 to little ROI on it. Most people value other people's opinions. So that's all they hear. I literally, Kevin, I swear to God, on my I swear on your kids, I don't hear anyone talk bad about me. I literally don't. I just think, honestly, everyone loves me. Why? I literally don't listen.
Why would you listen to the other?
I literally don't hear it. I don't value it. Your brain will only see and hear what it values.
Yeah. Ronnie hit that yesterday well.
Yeah, he did. I actually wrote down the whole story of it. Because this is the last one. You don't get what you want. You get what you're committed to.
Yeah. Well, so Ronnie's mentor, who was my first mentor, though I didn't work for him. I was like a customer of his, and then became a friend. used to say intention equals results. And so when he was, Fred and I have been talking about this a lot. So if some of you like who are in our crew at EXP, who join like our weekly Zooms, you probably heard us talk about this. It's intention plus mech. He would draw this on a board. Intention, like, and he'd have people define what the word intention means, and everyone kind of throw out a similar meaning. What's a mechanism? Like, it's a way to do it. It's a thing to get you there. And then the result is whatever the result is. And he, like, where he would get to is he would literally cross out the word mechanism. And it was, so you were just left with intention equals result, because the result was whatever you were most deeply committed to. Therefore, so his definition was your intention is it's not what you say you want. It's not what you say you're going to do. It's what you actually get.
It's so cool. You don't start with intention first. You actually start with result.
Yeah.
I look at your results and I can tell you what your intentions were. You aren't what you say you do. Intention's the pathway to, it's in the Bible. It says intention is that paved.
Yeah.
The
whatever
pathway to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yes.
You're not what you think you want to do. You're your behavior. This is where I talk about values a lot.
Yeah.
You're not I don't think there should be any other conversation outside values, but that's just me. Values are who you are. What you value is who you are, and you're not what you say you value.
It's not what you say you value.
It's what your behavior says you value. Right? If you're home every single day at 1:30 sitting on the couch, you don't value productivity, and you can go around saying you're the most productive person in the world, but
that's not really what you value.
Yeah.
100%. It's like that saying, can't hear your words because your actions are speaking so loud.
Yeah. Your actions speak so loud. I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes into this last one. And then we'd love to answer any questions for anybody. Is you don't get to the next level just because you're bored with this one.
Yeah.
Things don't get better naturally. They get better intentionally. You don't get to go to the next level just because you're bored with this one.
I love this because this was a room full of real estate professionals.
Yeah.
And while Brian didn't list this is common amongst all real estate professionals over, say, a 5-year span or more in the business. Especially if you've had some success, the boredom creeps in. And so whatever level of life and business that you're at, it's really easy to get bored. And it's really hard to like recognize it, acknowledge it, and push through it.
I agree. Back to where you said hard decisions, easy life, easy decisions, hard life. This kind of is the same in the facet of I just lost my pattern. What were you just saying?
We were just talking about how like you're going to get bored.
Oh, boring activities, exciting result.
Yes.
Exciting activities, boring results. Like if you pick exciting right now, tomorrow will be boring. If you pick boring right now, tomorrow will be exciting.
Yep.
And it's making peace with like people ask what I do. I'm like, come watch me, dude. I'm in Canva building fucking pitch decks.
You're like, it's
by
not
myself.
Not exciting.
It ain't fancy. I'm literally cold calling investors. Yeah. Hey, would you like sit down and talk about an opportunity?
The only exciting day is like when it closes and everyone gets paid. Like that's the one little bit of excitement I get for all of the boring, tedious things I did every day that were activities that I know that get me to that point.
Yep. Yep. I wish everything could. I wish when we post that we like just got a project or we just, launched a development. I wish that there was like a recording of all of the boring, monotonous fucking bullshit that it took to just get to that post.
All the highs and the lows, like the times you thought the deal was dead.
Oh yeah.
Or something came up. You're like, oh crap, we got to deal with this. And
yeah. It don't go away. Like, it no matter how high you go up, bullshit doesn't go away. Monotony doesn't go away. None of it goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Always there. All right, guys. So what questions? We got 10 minutes left. So do you have any questions for us at all for Kevin or myself?
Are your eyes good enough to read that from here?
It's not a chance. Dude.
Okay.
I can't fucking read a stop sign. What a great conversation today. Hey, thanks, David. I appreciate it, brother. And thanks for all you do behind the scenes.
Absolutely, dude.
Yeah, you're the man. What do we got? How can I do X so well with no chance that he's gonna do it?
Yeah, that's a great takeaway for the record.
Yeah. What was your let me ask you this. What's been the biggest thing in the past? What are you going to do differently this year than you've done in the past 40? You said you're 44?
44. Yeah, I'll be 45 in June.
So what are you going to do differently this year that you haven't done in the past 44 years of your life?
On like a day-to-day basis?
However you take that question.
What am I doing differently? Number one, I have I've shifted a lot of priorities around. We might have talked about this last time, but maybe not, around just experiences. Making sure like squeezing all of the life, all of the juice out that I can, like been more purposeful than ever before. Quick example, which may sound trite, but it's so funny. I've had to remind myself of why I'm doing it. Like in 2 weeks, a little less than 2 weeks, I'm going to Tahoe with two of my best friends I've known since high school. And we're going to go snowboarding and probably gamble like heathens at night. And
who are you going?
His name's Jared and CJ. And these guys have just been my buddies since high school. Right. And we've all got busy lives. CJ's an engineer. Jared's a surgeon. And we live in different places, and we're just going to fly in and go snowboard. But here's the deal. I've always wanted to go snowboard in Tahoe. Never done it. And I'm 44, going to be 45. And I probably can still snowboard. I don't know. And I probably could in my 50s too. And I might be able to in my 60s. It's going to be a lot less likely in the 70s or even 60s and 50s than it is in this decade. Even though I might have more money to take more time off then, I'm like, I got to fit this experience into this part of my life now. And so while I've wanted to say no to it, I've like constantly reminded myself of like, no, this actually has to happen now. So I can have this experience with my friends now.
Yeah.
So that way in 20 years, we have this to think about. We have this to have as a memory. And I know you've heard me talk about Die with Zero, and that's been the catalyst for that. Been really purposeful about that, just different vacations and things like that planned with my family. And for me personally, as well as been challenging myself more physically and mentally as well. Doing more work. I hired a coach that I would say is probably like the female version of you. And she has been challenging me on all of my beliefs, systems and thoughts, and helping me to work through things. And I'm just, I guess to sum it up, I'm going to make a lot more harder choices this year to continue to have the easier life that I want.
Fuck yeah. I love that.
More so than ever before.
I love hearing that you're going with your friends. It's something crazy happens. And I don't know, I attract a lot of these men in my life.
You shared this with me, which is the thing that got me thinking about it.
Yeah. Good. I love that, because it's funny, because you get to the end of your life and they've done, there's a million studies, just Google it, like what makes people happy, and it's relationships and it's friendships. And somewhere between like 30 and 50, most men and women they say they have friends, but they really don't. They have people they say hi to.
Yeah.
It's like people like throw out fun, and they throw out camaraderie and friendship, and their life becomes a big long to-do list.
You know what I've been so on some level I've realized that, and I know you and I have talked about this a lot over the last few years, because I know how valuable that is to me. One thing I've chosen to do is like, my business runs because of my friend. Like, I've decided to make my business about building a community of friends.
Dude, same.
I've found a way to make money being friends with people.
Yeah, same.
I'm a professional friend.
Oh, dude, yes. And I've never heard that say like that.
To do that, I had to find a way to bring value to people in their business, so that way I could then be their friend personally.
That's so good. Bring value to their. I love that you said that. We know Adam, Adam, one of my best friends. I remember Adam wouldn't do any deals with me. This is like 5 years ago, right? I had to become the type of guy that Adam would want to do deals with, because he was my friend. I'm like, why don't we do deals together? Well, I wasn't bringing him anything.
He didn't see you as the business value.
Yeah. And so I had to, now we do tons of deals together. Yeah. And so I love that. So how did you,
I had to figure out I realized at some point that if I could bring business value to somebody, then they would let me in as their friend. And I could generate, and I could cultivate relationships. And here's the deal. I think that could sound like manipulation, except I don't like assholes. And so if you're an asshole and I get to know you, and I'm like, cool. We're just not going to hang out. Like, that's like, it can end there. We might even respect each other, but like, we're not going to be friends. So when when you're my friend, like you're my fucking friend. Right. And maybe we got there through pure friendship, but there's a good chance we got there because we're in the same business and we were able to benefit each other. And then, so I just realized like I'm leaning into building more relationships and community with people that I actually want to be around.
Same. And if they're not directly in our business, they're entrepreneurs at some level. And I think the real reason why you do that though, is so that you could just write everything off.
Well, I mean,
it's like I'm with my business people. No, I'm just kidding.
I am allergic to the government. Yeah.
Same. All right, guys. Do you have any out loud? My mom. What's your next step for the year? So much. What tips would you give a new agent? I just make this simple for a new agent. Get on the phone and stay on the phone. I don't know what yours is. Mine is just get on the phone, stay on the phone, and do that. I have not gotten off the phone my whole career. Now it's changed who I was calling, but I have not stopped connecting. Started out, I was cold calling short sales and door knocking, connecting. Then from there, it turned into I was calling agents and inviting them to trainings. And then it turned into I was calling investors.
Yeah. Don't avoid the hard work. Just do it now and everything else will get easier.
Yeah. Get on the phone. And even like if practice scripts or get on the phone, I'd rather you get on the phone.
Yeah. But you could do the scripts later.
Yeah.
Like go learn what the situations are you're going to come into. Like just go make the phone calls. You can, scripts are important. I love scripts. You can do them later. Go get used, go build that muscle of like being on the phone.
Totally. And you're going to get sick of being told no. You're going to figure out what to say.
Yep.
My next step for the year personally is I'm looking for people from my organization who are ready to change their entire life. So I'm looking to get in business the people who are looking to change their life. Number one. The other thing that I'm looking at is we're constantly looking at new projects and we're looking at scaling projects. So if you're in the Arizona area and you know of any land deals or you know of any good land, let me know. What's next for you?
I like that. Continue to lean in to build my community, man.
Yep.
Like, you know, what's next for me is more of what I've been doing but I'm going to do it as a better me.
I love that. I love it. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being on, Kevin. You're the fucking man, dude.
I love this.
I really
love hanging out with you.
I know I can. It's like, yeah, I love hanging out with you too. Hour went by fast. I appreciate everybody being on the call. If you guys can do us a favor, if you'll take a picture of this and just post it online and share kind of a takeaway from today, what your main takeaway was, share it online. It's free. It'll always be free. It's just our way to contribute and to build our community. I will never stop looking for people who are looking to change their life and looking to change their business or looking to grow and expand on who they are. Those are my people. Kevin's doing the exact same thing with his community. And well, it's now, I mean, we're all really, it's our community.
Yeah.
Feels awesome. And I love what you've created. And I'm extremely grateful. I was talking to John Cheplack once and he's like, Kevin's been contributing to our industry for fucking longer than anyone I know. And you really have, and you do it so freely and you do it in a way, you do it the right way, dude. Just by being you and by giving, you're fucking the man. So thank you.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate you.
Have a great weekend. See you guys.